Well, Alex, here we are again.
Yeah.
A week later.
A week later. How about that?
Yeah, you guys won't see this in the release because, well, we've had some difficulty getting the Tomb Raider vlog over to Alex. But yeah, we actually didn't realize this. We thought we had movies planned out like monthly. But now that a couple of release dates have changed and a couple of movies just kind of crept up on us. And one in particular was last week's Tomb Raider. But now we get to have a little bit more fun with a franchise that actually, I think to some extent started the Drak Shadow vlogs, or at least started the idea of it. Because this was a movie that you and I saw together, and we both had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
And that is, so here we are for our vlog of Pacific Rim Uprising. In other words, the movie that the internet just can't get that stick out of their butt about. Yeah, so for people who listened to the Tomb Raider audio and saw how pissed off I was negatively about the film, this is going to be a weird one because you're actually going to see me go full on fanboy, and I'm not even going to apologize for it. First of all, I guess the best place to start up is the original Pacific Rim. We technically didn't do a vlog on it.
No, but I think that predated our vlogs officially. Yeah,
but it, like I said, it was the thing that kind of sparked the idea of like, we should do this, you know, just for the hell of it, we should do this. So we walked into that. You walked in basically blind because you hadn't really done a whole lot of mecha anime before.
No, but I've seen a fair few by that point.
And it wasn't like you were unfamiliar with giant robots. I mean, you watched Power Rangers and
giant robots or mechs, you know, I've seen Godzilla, I've seen everything pretty much.
But like, you know, you and I didn't know really what we were walking into. I think the only thing that was bringing us in was the fact that the voice of Gladys was going to be the AI in the mechs.
Yeah, which was fun.
At that point, we both walked in, didn't know what we were really going to expect. And you came out really liking it.
Yeah. And,
well, don't let me speak for you. So give your verdict and then I'll go into mine.
I mean, you're pretty much right. I really enjoyed the first film. I really did. I had fun with it.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing that I like about it, is that it was a fun romp. It didn't take itself too seriously or anything like that. It was just, you know, we know that we've got giant robots and we're just going to have fun with it. For me, I was absolutely flabbergasted because, like, this is what basically I've been waiting for many, many years, is for American cinema to finally get like how mecha should be done. The reason that this works is because it takes the mecha concept and it actually tries to Americanize it. It actually tries to make it appeasable to an American audience, and somehow that works for other continents. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not counting the Chinese. Just I swear they're literally just herded into and forced to pay $7 just to watch the movie. But I can't confirm that.
What?
That would actually be really funny, though, wouldn't it? It's like, you will go see Transformers and you will like it, citizens. Because, like, you know, because we hear that the Chinese budget is like the one that everybody just doesn't know how to trust. And it would be actually funny in your head to just envision, like, oh, you will go to this seat and you will like what you see. Enjoy your popcorn. And so at that point, like, kind of back on point, is this is the best that you're probably going to get in mecha. And it actually works really well as a pairing with kaiju as well. So you have the Godzilla audience coming because they want to see like what giant monsters you come up with. But then you can also show them like, oh yeah, we're working on these giant robots too. And this movie, like in Pacific Rim, got shat on. Like literally, I don't even understand the rage boner that the internet has against it, because it's perfectly fine if you check your brain at the door like every other Michael Bay fucking movie you've seen. Okay?
Well, isn't it? Yeah, there's your problem, because they already don't like Michael Bay, so why would they want to check their brain for this?
Yet you go and see his films.
It's true, they do.
Last Night still did fairly well. Yeah, sure, its ticket sales were bad compared to other ones, but it still breached like 100 or so mil.
Yeah.
So there was at least enough there. You know, that's the travesty there, is like, you have been screwed by Michael Bay who knows how many times. You have literally been turned around, bent over, your pants pulled down, and he basically inserts himself into you. He's done that 5 movies, 2 of which I'm going to say are fairly good, but most like Transformers 4, we all agreed, It was horrible. Last night, we didn't even need to put money there. We all saw what they were going for. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Why did this thing earn $100? It should have earned $10. It should have earned $10. And yet you've got a rage boner for an original property from an actual mecha fan. Guillermo del Toro has gone on the record, even though he's the producer for this one, he's gone on the record as saying he is a mecha fan.
Yeah.
This is what you've wanted, people. And yet you shit on it. I'm thoroughly convinced the internet does not deserve the goodness that is being handed to them. They really don't. Anyway, so that's kind of our viewpoint on the original Pacific Rim and the fact that it was actually pretty damn good. I still pull it out, and as long as you can get past the silliness, like my only complaint with the first Pacific Rim is very simple. They're kind of like Transformers. There are way too many human moments. There should have been more kaiju versus Jaeger. And I get what they were trying to do with that, but, you know, like the scientists were kind of dumb in the first movie. You didn't really need to follow them. Even the Ron Perlman cameo seemed kind of forced. I think you and I can kind of agree on that.
No, I liked Ron Perlman in the original.
I liked him in it, but like, could you have lived without knowing about the kaiju black market? Probably.
I don't know. I don't see that. I guess we're going to disagree here because I don't mind it. You know, I want my movies to have a little more substance. If I want to watch, you know, stuff get blown up and destroyed, well, I can go watch a Michael Bay movie. Yeah, I know everybody complain. You know, everybody complains.
But unlike Michael Bay, we could at least agree on the fact that like the fights, as dumb as they can get, they're actually kind of smart.
Yeah, they're fun, and they're not just, you know, after so long, all those battles and Transformers look alike, and
well, the difference here is like in the original one. Because I don't want people to get the wrong idea. I did enjoy a lot of the dialogue. In fact, a lot of my stuff was like the concept of drift and kind of the issues that Raleigh was going through and how kind of Mako was trying to force herself in to be a co-pilot for him, and that they really worked together. I actually did like a lot of the Stacker Pentecost backstory because, you know, they really kind of paint him as one of the earlier Jaeger pilots and thus experimental. Like he was a walking experiment for trying to make all those work. So I do like a lot of that stuff, but even I will admit, like the scientists were kind of dumb. Even like in a lot of their dialogue, they inject a lot of pseudoscience and it looks really, really weird. I didn't even remember one of the scientists' names for the first one because I was right there with Gottlieb calling him a kaiju groupie.
I completely forgot about him.
Yeah,
it's been a long time.
Which is funny because now we know his name and it's really appropriate.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are some moments where like, do I need to know about the kaiju black market? Maybe we could toss it out. Maybe we can leave it in. I'm okay with it.
It's good for world building, I think.
Yeah. Okay, I'll agree with you on that one. It's good for world building. But yeah, like there are a couple of moments where I'm like, okay, can we get back to the fighting kind of thing? Because this is really what I want out of it. Even just the pilots fighting amongst each other was fairly more entertaining than having to listen to the scientists babble banter out pseudoscience and oh crap, I can't where they're belting out the multimodal reflection sorting kind of thing. That was a little annoying, which is funny because like they're one of the best things in this movie. So anyway, yeah, there are things wrong with it, but it's still a fun romp. Like I have no problem saying I own this movie. I've watched it on a number of occasions just when I want to feel better about life, or I just want to see stupid shit get blown up kind of thing. That's when I pull out Pacific Rim. And also the other thing I have to admit, I do love a lot of the references that Guillermo del Toro puts into other things. So like if people didn't actually know this, the giant Russian mech in the first one is actually based on the original Zaku from Gundam.
Right.
So you have lots of really cool references like that. Anyway, we're already like 15 minutes into this review. We've only talked about the first film. So let's get into this one. Okay. So verdict right off the bat, good or bad?
Good.
I would agree with this. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Because in essence, it's doing exactly what the previous film did, except I actually would make the argument it improves on it a little bit.
Yeah.
It improves on the formula, gives you a little bit more of what you want, as well as gives a little bit more world building in an unusual way.
Yeah.
So let's go into the positives here, what we think they did right, what they think, and especially if we can compare it to the previous movie. I think that would be a great thing to do here. Go ahead, give us your positives here.
Being able to see more, even though it's mostly reserved for the climax, being able to see more of the more Jaegers in combat at once.
Yes.
Where it's been a while, so correct me if I'm wrong.
It's pretty much the first time we've done it, isn't it?
Yeah,
because
I can't remember.
You have the multi-Jaeger battle at the end of the first movie, but they're all in separate areas. So like it's still a one-on-one fight.
Yeah, and everything here was a big battle confined to one area with one kaiju and 3 Jaegers.
Yes.
3 or 4. And that was pretty cool looking.
But in essence, like it starts as 3 kaiju versus about 4 Jaegers, and then gets really cool with a big mega kaiju versus 4 Jaegers. And here's the thing, like for kaiju fans who want to see the kaijus win, I mean, you got what you wanted, and then the Jaeger fans got what they wanted. They got to see some victories.
Yeah.
Either way, and all of it was very satisfying to watch. So other positives that you got?
John Boyega's character is really good.
Yes. Will we dare say he's better than Idris Elba? I like Idris Elba, but I mean, when you take that character, the Stacker Pentecost character he was playing, I mean, he's kind of one note in the fact that I'm badass Stacker Pentecost. I'm one of the prototype pilots and all that. Like he's your stereotypical fighting general, kind of thing. And I would actually say that maybe I'm wrong in this one, or maybe I'm biased. There's a little bit more layers to Jake Pentecost than there are to Stacker.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you have the resentment of his father, you have him just wanting to live his own life, kind of thing, and then you also have he as much as he doesn't want to admit it, like he's a passionate Jaeger pilot.
Yeah,
I think like he loves kicking ass and taking names just as much as his dad did. So I think this was actually a step in the right direction there, because they took one of the characters that people loved from the first film and kind of added into its formula in his son. And I mean, you and I were just barely having this discussion, like of the movies that we've seen with John Boyega in it.
Which isn't many.
Which isn't many. I mean, like
we've only like
Force Awakens and Last Jedi come to mind. And frankly, like, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about the Finn characters. There's not a lot there.
Yeah.
People are more interested in Rey than they are in Finn. But this actually made me a fan of John Boyega. Like, I think he, as much as I question his Twitter posts about Battlefront 2, because I'm still thoroughly convinced, even when you were talking bad about EA, John Boyega, I'm thoroughly convinced you were still taking money from him. Because even when you made criticisms, they weren't that bad. They were like slap on the wrist criticisms.
Yeah.
So, but your acting, I can't deny that anymore. That he had chops in this movie.
Yeah.
I did like the fact that they brought in previous cast members too. So you got to have Makamori come back. Although Raleigh Beckett kind of got the shaft, and he was the main character of the first movie. And I know that the actor, he had prior commitments, so he couldn't do Pacific Rim 2, but he gets one reference in this film. That's kind of weird.
It is weird.
Anyway, yeah, sorry, I'm interrupting.
That's fine. I think that's kind of it for my likes. Maybe more will come, but just good action scenes, good casting. It's what you want in a good monster movie.
My positives, one thing that definitely did improve, like from a base filmmaking standpoint, was cinematography. We had a lot more glory shots of like Mount Fuji compared to what they did in the previous film. With a lot of the really good cinematography shots in Pacific Rim were of the rim itself. Because you had to paint that with a gaze of horror, because at any moment a kaiju could come out of there. And at that point, they basically said, well, the rift is closed, so let's paint the rest of the world.
Yeah. And
it was actually really cool how they did that. Like, some of the cinematography looked really good. I especially love the mansion that Jake Pentecost was living in, and half of it's missing because there's a ginormous kaiju skeleton right next to it. That was pretty good. That was a pretty good way to set the scene. And also, like, I'll compliment it. A lot of backdrops in there were tons brighter than the first film. Like, almost to contrast, like, yes, there is peace, you know, the war is over, whereas in the first film the war was very much on. And,
Yeah.
I mean, like, one of the first scenes that we see is like them trying to build giant walls to keep the kaiju out, kind of thing. So you have a very different feel for how these films go. Most of the performances that we got from the actors were either as good as they were going to be because they were a cameo, or they actually outdid some of the characters in the original film. I actually, this is going to sound really bad, but what was it? Amara Namani, the little girl.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she was actually a better Mako than Mako in a weird way, because like they had, if you look at it, they kind of had the same backstory, but Mako was what I think painted more along the lines of like more vengeance fixated, whereas Amara is more painted as just, I want to survive.
Yeah.
Even if that means I've got to go build my own little mini Jaeger that has no chance against a kaiju. It's going to make me feel safe, and that's all that matters. And I kind of like that a little bit better than the way Mako was portrayed in the first film. Am I the only one that has that?
I would guess so, because it didn't occur to me. I liked Mako in the first film.
Yeah. And I also think that they did something that they should have done in the first film. Like, I like Raleigh Beckett, but Raleigh Beckett really wasn't the main character that people were rooting for. It was Mako. And I like the fact that they took Captain Nathan, or I can't remember his rank, but Nathan Lambert, who is the co-pilot for Jake. And he was kind of like Raleigh. Like, he played the same kind of note, but instead of being a main character, he was a secondary character. That's what that should have been. So to me, that's an improvement. And I can't stop speaking the praises here, because the scientists, who were probably one of the more annoying things of the first movie for me, are some of the most entertaining moments in this film. Including the fact that while the movie tries to paint the evil Li Wen, I think it was what her name was, she was the head of the Shao Corporation,
right,
as the villain. And then we have the swerve of saying, oh yeah, you remember that kaiju groupie who melded with a kaiju brain? Yeah, he has the kaiju brain in his bedroom, by the way, so that you can already imagine the sessions he's had. And we're going to swerve it and basically say, oh no, he's the villain. He's the one that's been using kaiju brains to power rogue Jaegers and eventually like power things so that the kaiju can return. The kaiju groupie is the bad guy here. And that makes a lot of sense.
It does. That was pretty cool.
That's basically like the only way that they could have hammed that up more is they hinted at kaiju worshippers early on in the film. It would have been funny if he was like the head of a kaiju worshipper cult.
Yeah.
That would have been absolutely hilarious, and I would have been okay with that. It would have played off as like that one scene in Akira where like for some reason there are cults to Akira, and you can't necessarily explain why there are cults to Akira,
right,
when nobody's supposed to know that Akira exists. That's how that would have played, and I like how they did this here, and also kind of gave him a duality, because the precursors are controlling him, not necessarily like he's doing it. Because he's still very pro-human, but now he works for the precursors.
Yeah.
And obviously the fights. The fights were amazing to be able to watch. They had some really good innovative moments where, you know, I love the people that actually criticize the original Pacific Rim of like, a giant robot would not bring a boat to a kaiju fight. Motherfuckers, if it's going to guarantee that you win, you bring whatever you can. That was a cool moment in the first film. Just dragging a big old oil tanker to smack it across a kaiju's face. That was funny.
Who the hell's saying this stuff?
It's one of those things where you have to go into like Metacritic and just read the reviews people had with it, and they pick and choose the dumbest things to have problems with. I didn't like the fact that the adversary Jaeger pilot had a what is the dog type? What was that called? Like a bulldog that they had to emphasize his balls. That felt like Michael Bay. Like, fucker, when did they emphasize his balls? And in fact, the dog wasn't even the emphasis. He was just kind of the cuddly portion to curb out the other guy's character. It's like, oh yes, he does have a softer side. Look at this bulldog. He loves him.
Oh.
Aww. but he's still filled with angst, you know?
Filled with angst.
Angst and aggression.
Jeez.
And then, yeah, again, like, people actually hated the robot fights. And it was like, how on earth can you hate them? Because they're glorious.
Yeah.
They're the closest thing to mecha you're ever going to get. And I especially love the one where it's like, nobody would bring a boat to fight a kaiju.
Oh, really?
Motherfucker, it's a street fight. You bring whatever you want.
Have you fought a
yeah, exactly.
How
Have
do you
fought
know?
a kaiju?
Have you fought some kaiju
Are
lately?
you a kaiju fighting expert? Is there a secret kaiju fight club that we're not aware of? That's so stupid. Like okay, I'm a Gundam fan, everybody. I am. But do you want to know one thing that I will always call stupid in Gundam is that you're in a city and you're trying to win a war, and you're trying to win a war at any cost, and you just leave the buildings alone. You leave the cars alone. You leave all of that stuff. I get the whole preservation of society, but you know, this movie actually had a good answer for that, and I'll get to that in a second. You evacuate the civilians, and it's a fucking street fight. You win at however you gotta win. If that means you gotta pick up an oil tanker and slap it across a dude's face, then you do it.
Yeah.
Then you do it. It's war. You win or you die. That's the way it works. And that's the same way the first movie was presented. And if you can't like that because it's stupid, fuckers, it's the smartest thing that movie actually did. Holy crap. The other one that I love that people get mad about is, how on earth would you get a sword into that arm? Fuckers, they got a plasma cannon in it. You don't have to explain this. It's like, we have to explain how every single thing gets put onto the RX-78. Wow, I can only imagine explaining Gundam Heavy Arms. Oh, well, why do you have why do you have a bunch of Gatling guns where the cockpit's supposed to be? Because guns.
Because guns.
Why are they also in the shoulders? Because guns.
If you try to practically design a mech, believe us, it's not good. Somebody did this last year. They built mechs for like a battling robot style tournament,
yeah.
And it was so lame because obviously they had to
do it on a basis of like you have to actually like do the science for it.
You have to do the science. You have to also make sure that the people piloting said mech are going to be killed or maimed.
And I'll at least give credit to that because I'm like, oh, that's really cool. You know, like that's really cool that you were able to do it. But I'm not expecting you to, you know, go all out in your first couple of attempts. You know, I'm not expecting you to hide a wrist blade in there. That makes no sense. But one of the reasons mecha works so much and why like Gundam and Mazinger and all of those are able to flourish is because it's not necessarily that it's just a giant robot. You're waiting to see all the tricks that robot has up its sleeve. Okay. One of the reasons Big O is fucking entertaining for people is because you never expect that there's a giant, like you don't even imagine that there's this giant like big pressure thing on the end of its arm until it's got its hand on some dude's head and then you see it go BAM. Okay. You're not thinking about that. That's an ace up the sleeve.
Yeah.
Or you don't expect that Big O all of a sudden is just going to, you know, do a specific hand motion and a beam of death is going to come out of its forehead. How does that make sense?
It doesn't.
That's why I'm saying, check your brain at the fucking door. Okay? It doesn't make sense. Sure. Okay, fine. Your logic. It doesn't make sense that blades are coming out of there. Neither does a plasma cannon. And neither does the fact that you're piloting a giant robot and you have to have two people that literally act as the left and right brain.
You can't.
There you go. Logic, you've already destroyed it. That's why I'm saying check your fucking brain at the door.
Put it in a jar.
No, because I don't want to have that bedroom moment. That's forever ruined brains in a jar for me. I'm not even kidding. That, like, when they showed the brain for the training drift, I was just like, oh, because it was literally seconds before we got the whole porn kaiju brain session. And I was just like, ew, you've ruined brains in a jar for me, Pacific Rim. Because now I'm just going to envision Newt, and by the way, most appropriate name ever, Little Lizard. I'm just going to imagine him just like leaning back in his chair with the probes on his head and just going, oh. It just doesn't work anymore. That's a beef. But yeah, I think you guys kind of get the point. Like, I love this movie. I think it's great, but it isn't without its faults. So let's actually get into the negatives here.
Okay. Most of my negatives are probably just gonna be like minor nitpicks. A lot of
like, you will never look at a brain in the jar the same way again.
Yeah, probably.
Especially now with the image I put in your brain.
Now, I don't hate the whole like seeing what the cadets are doing, how they're training, but am I the only one who got like real Ender's Game vibes out of that? Seriously, I just kept
a little bit, but I also kind of got the vibe of like the previous one where you know, they're trying to weed out the recruits and figure out who's worthy of it and who isn't.
Maybe it's just because I haven't seen the original in quite a while, but
I just got
it just reminded me of Ender's Game.
You get a feel of like typical military bunker kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just, I get that, but it just reminded me of Ender's Game, and even then, I didn't hate Ender's Game.
In fact,
I liked
if the
it.
nostalgia critic takes this on, I actually want him to go dig out. I can't remember his name, but the typical drill sergeant from
R. Lee Ermey.
Earlier, yeah, you know the one I'm talking about, right? The one that eventually got brought into like Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy to play like a drill sergeant.
So you mean the one from Full Metal Jacket, right?
Full Metal Jacket, yeah. This is my rifle. There are many like it, but this one is mine. That's the only thing I want to see added to that. Or if I'll just be honest, like, I'm not the biggest fan of Attack on Titan, but I love Attack on Titan Abridged. And one of the reasons I like it is they took the drill sergeant and made him just that guy, but on steroids. Watch Linkara's History of Power Rangers Jungle Fury. You'll get what I mean. But yeah, it just feels like a typical military bunker kind of scene. And what adds on to the fact that it feels like the first movie is the fact that like Mako and Raleigh couldn't really get along at first, and that's shown in Namani and the Russian girl. Victoria, I think was her name.
Yeah, Victoria.
Where they have their own little fight. So it just felt like the first movie.
Yeah, it wasn't awful or anything. I didn't hate it. It just reminded me of, it made me feel like I was watching Ender's Game again.
Kind of, yeah. I can see that.
And like I said, I didn't hate Ender's Game. I liked it, but other nitpick would be...
I picked up the book because of the movie.
Yeah.
So
other nitpick would be, I didn't like the theme remix. I like the original.
No, I'll agree with you on that one. The original one was better.
Yeah, much better.
In fact, when we were driving home, I was listening to the original and comparing it. I'm just like, well, I think that the remix does some good things. Most of it is just trying to retool what made the original song badass, and the original song's badass.
Yeah, just put the original song in. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I think it would have been a lot better if... And you want to know one thing that would have also helped with the world building a little bit? Like, one of the most memorable parts of that first movie is the first 10 minutes when, you know, they're getting woken up to do a kaiju hunt. And that's when you hear the theme for the first time. That would have been really cool to see that happen with all of the recruits, like all of them getting prepped and going into their Jaegers. That would have been really cool.
Yeah.
And we didn't get that. But that would have been like, at that point, if anybody had any issues with, you know, this one recruit or this one recruit, this would have made them badass gods to you, because that's what happened in the first 10 minutes of Pacific Rim. Is they're brothers. You don't care that they don't get along occasionally. You care that they're in big old metal armor piloting a giant fucking robot. Even the drift was really cool how they explained it. It's like, we're brothers, but it's also rare because we're drift compatible. You know?
Yeah.
Hey, at that point, you don't have to share too many memories. You've lived through most of it. Yeah, so yeah, the themes, sorry, I had to get back to like what we had. I agree with you. The remix was not as cool. And if they get to Pacific Rim 3, just get the original one.
Yeah, just put the original back in.
Because I think the guy, I was trying to see his credit in the end.
It's a different person this time.
It's a different person. That's probably why they couldn't do it. Because they had to remix it, because then they would have had to pay the royalties.
Cheap bastards.
Exactly. But you know what? I'm also kind of happy that you were cheap bastards, because that's how this film works.
Yeah.
Because it's also on a fairly light budget. So at that point, it can easily eclipse its movie budget, which we actually confirmed. It was like 150 mil to make it, and it's sitting at like 400 mil.
Let's
So
double check.
as long as their marketing wasn't horrible,
Yeah.
then they're fine.
They didn't. I mean, I didn't see any Super Bowl ads for this. So
No.
God Almighty. So
No, that probably would have made me watch the Super Bowl if I was going to get a Pacific Rim 2 trailer.
let's see.
Although technically, I did avoid all the trailers up until this because I wanted to walk in unspoiled.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, but no, I don't remember. I think the last trailer reveal I saw was either in a movie or the YouTube reveal, and YouTube's fairly cheap, or at least this campaign is a lot less cheap because of the fact. Like, for the first Pacific Rim, they went out and got a bunch of YouTubers and put them in Jaegers. That was dumb.
Wow, I don't even remember that. Jeez.
Oh yeah, they put like so this was around the time that the JonTron Game Grumps was happening. So Ego Raptor and JonTron were in a Jaeger, and Jesse Cox and Dodger were in a Jaeger. And it didn't even involve Raleigh Beckett. They brought in the guy that had the dog to be like the drill sergeant.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But like you would have these different pairings. I think the two guys from the Warp Zone were in a Jaeger too. And it was just them being stupid.
Okay.
You know?
So yeah, Pacific Rim Uprising budget about 150 million, give or take.
Yeah.
Let's see let's see what it's grossed thus far.
For the record, Uprising deserves all of the money that Last Night earned. I'm not kidding.
Let's see.
And if you seriously, come at me, bro, on Twitter. If you liked Last Night and you hated this one, just come at me, bro. I will argue with you and I will debate with you, because if you liked Emo Angsty Prime in Last Night compared to this, we got problems. Okay.
Okay, so domestic total sitting about 28 million.
Okay, so 28 million domestically, and what was it globally? 400. Because I remember you saying 400.
Foreign 122 million.
So 122 million. So it's pretty much made up its budget.
Let's see. So worldwide total is 150 million.
Okay, so it's made bank, or it's in the black.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. As long as its marketing campaign wasn't horrible, but I don't think it was, because I don't remember getting saturated with this.
Yeah, I don't think I saw a ton of ads for it.
I don't think we got too many trailers for it either. Like, I think we got more with the original than we did with this one. So that was a good idea as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, more negatives for it, Alex.
It's really kind of all I got. I didn't have too many problems with the movie.
One argument that I would actually have with it is, again, there are a couple of moments where I think you could have condensed them a little bit more. Like, for example, I didn't necessarily need all of that chase scene in Scrapper against what was he called? Like November Ascension or something like that.
Yeah.
Where she was just basically looking to take this guy down. That was a little long as far as I'm concerned. I also didn't need to know what Jake Pentecost was doing, all that. Like, I'm not saying that the party wasn't helpful, because that did actually show, like, this is what happens when peace is won, everybody. But did I need him to do all these drug deal kind of things for Oreos and for hot sauce? Not really.
That was a little weird, but
not really. I mean, it was silly, but the whole premise of this movie is silly, so okay. But if I were to cut things out, I'd cut that. You know that Guillermo del Toro was like high that day. He's like, you know what we ought to do? We ought to make it look like John Boyega's doing a drug deal with Oreos.
Well, not del Toro, but
yeah, well, he was the producer.
Yeah, but
so
let's see. Actually,
so he was in the idea making sessions
a little bit. I think he was mostly busy making Shape of Water. But
yeah,
Stephen S. DeKnight was the director. That explains the Daredevil shades, because he did Daredevil.
Yeah, he's the director for Daredevil. So, yeah, there are little points here and there where you could have cut like a minute off and it would have been fine. Okay, like you could cut out that chase. I would even say like some of the fights, you could probably cut some stuff out of them and get more to the point. I would say, why the hell would you? Because it just works.
Yeah, I didn't have too much problem with the length. I mean, the movie, it's just it's a little shy of 2 hours here, but
I mean, there was one point where I kind of leaned into you and just like, can we get to the robot fighting, please? Just because I don't need to have the whole jail moment of this is how you end up at Jaeger Academy. Although I will admit, the interrogation room with the HoloLenses, that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
that was pretty
it.
cool. But do we need to have the whole, oh yes, we're having this whole argument of AI versus actual pilot? It's like, dude, I've seen this in Stealth. If Jamie Foxx walks into the camera, I'm already going to say this movie's screwed. I've seen this in Stealth. I've seen this plot line before. It doesn't really go anywhere. But then I also want to give it credit because I did like the fact that the AI Jaegers turned on them and actually became like a weird kaiju Jaeger hybrid.
Yeah.
So I'll at least give them that credit. Yeah, I don't have too many negatives on this one. This was tons more enjoyable than Tomb Raider for me. Just because in some cases where it does have story cohesion, you could check your brain at the door and you're fine. It's just giant things destroying the city. And by the way, one of the other good fixes that I liked, and not even Power Rangers has done this, is like you actually had escape pods in the city. So like they got sent really, really far underground. So at that point you could say city's evacuated, they can come back up and, come into a city wasteland.
Like some serious Evangelion shit.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's Nerve, okay? That should work for you.
Yeah.
That should work for you.
It's awesome.
I like that idea. I'm just like, okay, cool. No civilian casualties that you know of. So now we can do stupid shit like throw buildings onto a kaiju. I'm sorry, that's not entertaining for you? I don't get it.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the things I found really entertaining about this kaiju was the whole moment of they punched it right in the face and you literally see the power like get resurged into its fist and he punches back. That's some Bruce Lee shit right there.
It makes more sense than like Superman crashing Zod through a bunch of buildings.
Where it is still the population's still there. I was going to say habitated, but I don't think that's an actual word.
Yeah, habitated.
But yeah, there were still people there. At least you could say like, oh yeah, the giant robots can come out. All the humans are safe. This is something Power Rangers hasn't even done. We just all assume that it's the abandoned building district of Angel Grove.
The abandoned building district.
Or one of them. Or the gravel pit that's what Angel Grove's major economy is. Expendable buildings and gravel pits.
Gravel pits.
We can't necessarily disagree with this now, can we?
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, so I actually did like some little bits of smart that were peppered throughout this whole thing. I'm like, how do you explain the human equation? Well, first of all, so here's the cool part about that. Like they explained it in the city, right?
Yeah.
But then another really cool moment is when the kaiju turn at the base. Because then you get to see like how even the military would react to giant robots wrecking your shit. They run like hell. Or they get stuck under stuff, or they try to get to their Jaegers as fast as they possibly can to fight it. That makes sense. So you got that element of like, I mean, for a little while there, the kaiju did actually have people it was stepping on. So you got those moments, but then you got to have that smart moment of like, okay, everybody get to their escape pods. Let's get them all down underground. Go ahead. Just destroy the living hell out of them. Punch the living shit out of them and you're fine. I just don't understand why people are shitting on this movie. I really don't.
I don't get it either.
I don't. Because the bottom line is that if you came in expecting a logical plot, you already failed as a movie viewer. Okay, if you were expecting complicated nuance, or what was the one of the reviews that we actually read? Like, this thing lacked all nuance.
Let's see.
It wasn't supposed to have any.
Calm down. It's not Tomb Raider. You don't need to shout.
This is not where Richard Croft has resurrected. By the way, spoilers.
Funny thing is, last week when we recorded Tomb Raider, Stephen Romney was here because we were going to shoot some stuff later, and he could hear Adam yelling.
Yes. It'd be really funny right now if Romney was coming in super early. He's like, what the hell got you pissed off this time? No, I was not pissed off. I was overjoyed. This is the greatest movie ever. I can't wait for this thing to come out on DVD, by the way. And I can guarantee you tonight, I'm going to be watching Pacific Rim.
Okay, it makes you yearn for the nuance and complex characterizations of the Transformers series.
Oh, fuck you. Can you put these quotes up? Like, can we Photoshop them and put them up?
Yeah, I'll put the quote. I'll
right,
write the quotes out.
Yeah, my answer to you is you have a right to your opinion. I also have a right to say, fuck you!
From Wendy Ide from Observer UK.
You were expecting nuance in a giant robot film? You already failed walking in.
So at least the Film School Reject has it right. Guaranteed to leave viewers a certain age remembering back to kaiju-filled Saturday afternoons.
Exactly. Make you relive your childhood and have some fun with it, too. Oh, my God. Yeah, so which one is this? Rotten Tomatoes?
Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's at a 49%, and it's at a 57% audience score.
46% on the tomato meter.
46.
So 5 of the 10 critics like it or so.
So... Well, I don't trust the critics because fuck them. They weren't paid to give it a good review. Yeah, that's right. I said it. Like 30 or 80% of the problem that I have with mainstream critics these days is then you find out, oh yeah, they've been taking money under the table for a while. Almost like they are exactly like the gaming industry. So you want to say that you're a credible reviewer to my face? I will laugh at your face. Because I paid for this movie. I'm not taking any money from it. In fact, I've criticized John Boyega in the past, and I've criticized the original movie as much as loved it. And yeah, my opinion's more valid than yours. Moving on. If you have a problem with that, come at me, Scrub Lord. I'm ripped.
God, you know I'm the one who's got to edit this, right?
Yes, I know. That's right. Okay, I'll stop yelling. I'm sorry. But okay, we got to wrap things up because I could honestly go like 90 minutes on this one.
Yeah, it's getting long.
So final verdict. So what actual score would we give this thing?
Enjoyable, fun romp. I'll give it a 9.
I don't want to go perfect because it's not perfect by any stretch. There are flaws with it. There are flaws in its reasoning and all of that stuff. I'm going to give it a 9.5.
Cool.
I think it's a solid A effort. I think I'm really hoping that we do actually get Pacific Rim 3 that this kind of hints at, because I will enjoy the living hell out of that one too. And at least, you know, if I'm in fact, if you could actually do this, could you just put that in between like a bunch of movies that I already know are going to be bad so that at least I don't go insane and I can at least say, okay, I've seen Pacific Rim 3. I'm good. That would be awesome. Guillermo del Toro and Legendary Pictures. If you could do that, that'd be awesome. And also, if you could actually answer this question for me, so is this part of the giant monster universe? Because if it is, that's stupid. Don't do it. Pacific Rim should be its own thing, and then Kong Skull Island and Godzilla and the Ghidorah hint that you're doing, that can be its own thing. Okay, so yeah, 9.5, and how much will we actually pay for this?
It's worth I'd say any price of admission. I'd say go see it in the theaters because it'll be fun to watch it on a big screen.
I want it. So there are a couple of things I want to do with this. I'm not sure if I want 3D. I don't know how well it's going to look. It would be kind of cool to see like the original Pacific Rim in 3D. I haven't done that.
Probably not. 3D always has a problem of looking too dark when they convert it. So
okay, yeah,
I would probably not do probably wouldn't do the original 3D. This one might work better with 3D because it's a lot brighter.
Maybe. Atmos, I would definitely like to hear it on Atmos. I think a lot of the music would be a little bit better if we could hear it on Atmos. And I would definitely want to do this with like the D-box seats.
I could not do D-box.
It's one of those rare things where I agree with you, but then there's like that one movie that comes out, I'm like, I would like to do that in D-box.
See, you know, the theater we always go to has like a little D-box sampler in the lobby. And I remember when I was waiting for you one day for a movie, I actually tried sitting in one for like the 2-minute Wonder Woman trailer, and I got out. I felt sick after that. I was nauseous after that.
It's one of those things where like, this isn't just a movie. This is a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I think this is one of those few movies that would warrant that. It would warrant you actually getting involved there. I will tell you this. If I had to go see this again, I would pay for, so at our theaters, we have luxury seats, which is basically you get a glorified couch. I'd pay the luxury seats.
Yeah,
for
luxury.
This. I'd pay for that because seeing this on the couch would be great. But yeah, I think that's going to go ahead and do it for our review of Pacific Rim Uprising. If you think I'm horribly biased, you can tweet me at Drak2326 and I will promptly ignore you probably. No, I will say come at me. I'll probably just send you the meme of come at me, scrub lords, I'm ripped. Because I stand by my score on this one. This was very, very enjoyable, and I'm very happy that it happened right after Tomb Raider, because Tomb Raider just depressed me. So yeah, I think that's gonna go ahead and do it. Thank you guys so much. And if you also want to tweet out at Alex and get his in-depth opinions, you can do so at AlexJShort on Twitter.
Yep.
And of course, we will see you guys for the next one, which should be interesting, because I have technically heard that this is like going to, well, we've heard this numerous times, but like this is going to be the last Steven Spielberg movie we ever get, and then he's going to retire, you know, for like the 13th time.
I haven't heard that. That's a new one on me.
Oh yeah, I've already seen people speculating on that one. It's like, this is truly going to be Steven Spielberg's last movie.
Dude, I think he's like Clint Eastwood. I think
No, yeah, exactly.
both him and Clint Eastwood, they're gonna work till the day they die.
he is. So what we're basically saying is he is the Shigeru Miyamoto of the film industry.
Miyamoto,
Like security has to remove him.
Miyamoto, Miyazaki's.
Security, please remove Mr. Spielberg from Soundstage 13. I'm sorry, sorry, it's Hollywood Soundstage 14. But yeah, we will see you guys next time for Ready Player One, another film that, by the way, is getting kind of mixed reviews. So we'll see you then.